The Star Sport podcast is brought to you by Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, funding dreams for over 50 years.
Close your eyes and pull like a dog.
And a new Irish record for Phil Healy, 22.99.
Christy Cooney hands over the Sam Maguire Cup to Graham Canty, Cork All-Ireland champions for the 7th time ever.
So hello and welcome once again to another episode of the Star Sport podcast. I'm your host Matthew Hurley and I'm joined today as always by Star Sport editor Kieran McCarthy. The Star Sport podcast is brought to you in association with our friends at Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, where your bank really does matter. Choose credit union, choose local, choose community. Now later on in the show we will be joined by former Monaghan footballer Stephen Gollogly as Cork face the Farney County in Grattan Park in Inniskeen at 1:30pm this Sunday. Both sides come into the game on 4 points, and a win for either side in this would be a big step towards promotion. But first, we'll take a look at some of the big stories that happened in West Cork over the past week or so. And I suppose the first place to start in terms of a local level, Kieran, is with the Carberry Under-21 Football Championships, which were suspended until August due to the weather conditions postponing the recent semi-finals. A load of games have been pulled. 2 Under-21A semi-finals were pulled at the weekend, another Under-21 semi-final at B level and another one at C level. The Cork County Board refused to give Carberry another week in finishing the Under-21 Championships, and the Carberry Board had no other option but to suspend the championship until August. What's your general thoughts on this, Keir? Like, the Under-21 Championships have been probably brushed under the carpet for many seasons now. I suppose the positive is the championships are going to be played in summer now, but having the quarterfinals been played already, is this kind of a bit of a stop-start nature for the championship now?
Yeah, 100%. I suppose if you look at the last couple of years, the Under-21 Championships have been kind of moved pillar to post, it's, like I said on Twitter, it's almost become an irritant to the powers that be, like the greater powers that don't seem to have too much interest or in the Under-21, which is such a shame. I remember when I started in the Southern Star, just that's a long time ago now, the Under-21 football locally was huge, massive occasion, kind of played a bit later in the year than it is now, but huge occasions, and it's a competition that means an awful lot to, especially here in West Cork. So we've seen, go back to 2023, the Under-21 football was held in, I think it was November, December. Then last year it ran off in February. So it was kind of February allotted to the Carberry Under-21 Championships again this year. So what it is the county board have allocated 3 Sundays in February and 3 successive Sundays for the Under-21 Championships to be played. You don't have to play it in, it's an option. Like divisions are open to playing it later in the year if they want as well, once they have their winners ready to go forward into the county championship. But Carberry opted to play it in February. But last year the weather gods played ball, this year they didn't. So we have what we have now. It's just a kind of a messy situation, let's say the likes of Bantry Blues and Castlehaven and you've done Ross and Ivan Gales around the Under-21A semi-finals. They played their quarter-finals in February. They played a semi-final in August, and then let's say the winners, if everything can run according to plan in August, semi-finals and the final late in August, then you're probably waiting again till November to be out in the county, So it's far from ideal, and it's just a shame to see what's happened to the Under-21 competitions over the last couple of years.
I suppose it is definitely so. And in your opinion, Kieran, which month would be the most ideal to play off this Under-21 Championship? Obviously, this stage, you mentioned it before, it's not ideal playing a quarter-final in February, a semi-final in August, and subsequently the final in August as well. What months would probably be the best for the Under-21 Championships? Because we know that March and April and May, a bit of May, is reserved for the Inter-County Under-20 Championships that are going to start very soon as well. The winter months, obviously, there is the weather as well, not just sporting backgrounds and things like that. There is the weather, like January and February, normally wet months, sore November, December as well. So Would August be the most ideal time to play the whole thing off?
See that what happens in Matthew runs into the kind of the county championships, kind of even thinking already for the Carbery semi-finals, under 21 semi-finals and finals have been scheduled for the free weekends in August. And like think about those Bantry Blues players in Haven and Skibbon, even all the grades who will be playing with their adult teams as well. So that's tough going. It is an issue and a problem trying to find a proper home for it. Like with the split season, there's not too many options there. There really isn't too many options, especially because the reason that the county board allocated the 3 Sundays in February to play off the championships is because then the Cork under-20s can go back in with the county teams preparing for their competitions. So I don't know what the solution to this is, I'll be quite honest. In Thursday, Southern Star, John Hayes he's almost of the same opinion. He thinks that February is probably too early to hold a competition because with pitches and so on. Then you have the summer months are taken up with the kind of the adult club competitions, and you'll have minor kind of underage competitions as well. So trying to find a home for it is a tough problem, And I don't know what the solution is right now. Will we actually get to a place, I wonder, where you'll have to play your under-21 championships without your county under-20 players? And then we could be looking at that. We could be looking at that, which would be sad in a sense. You'd hate to see go down that route that the club would suffer at the hands of kind of county being put first. But that's the road we could be on right now. But it's just not ideal what's happened this week, and it's out of Carbery's hands in one sense. The fact that the weather is the way it is, and there's a bad forecast again this weekend, so that's why they decided to pull all the 3 grades A, B, and C because they're just going to hold them all because I think what they want is a bit of momentum, hopefully in the summer months, play off the semi-finals, and I think it's Wednesday, August 6th is kind of put down for it, and then kind of go from there with the finals. So we'll just have to wait and see how that pans out later in the summer, but just not an ideal situation, and just more it's just in keeping what's happened with the under-21 over the last couple of years. Just like I said, it's become, I think, in a way, to the greater powers in the corridors of Cork GA. It's almost a tick the boxes played competition. It's not been shown the love and attention that a grade like this deserves, and a grade that's so popular at club level as well. Think of the hundreds of young footballers around the county that play under the under-21 grade each year. It means an awful lot to them. And I think they just seem to be forgotten about at the moment, which is quite sad.
It is, to be honest, and as well as that, the two semi-finals that were played over the weekend. St. Colum's got over Tyke McCorriggs, and Island Rovers won their semi-final at the weekend as well. Like Island and St. Colum's will be going to the final, maybe cold in a way in August. So it's unfair on those players as well. And hopefully the problem does get solved. It won't be this year, obviously. Hopefully it'll be next year or even more years to come, but we'll have to see how it all progresses in the years to come. We'll move on to the inter-county action now, and we'll talk about Cork and Monaghan in the Football League in just a bit before our chat with Stephen. But before that, we'll talk about firstly the Hurling League. Cork are going to Semple Stadium, Thurles on Saturday evening at 7:30 to play Tipperary in the Alliance Hurling League Division 1A. Like it's a difficult game for Cork this. I suppose at the start of the league here, and we were thinking we didn't know what to expect with this Tipperary side. They've got 2 wins out of possible 3 now. They performed very well against Limerick, only losing that game by 4 points on the Gaelic grounds. Liam Cahill seems to be building a good side there. Cork haven't done too badly themselves. I suppose the Hurling League isn't as important maybe as the Football League, arguably. But would it be important for these Cork players just to get a win on the board after getting only a win against Wexford and a draw against Limerick so far?
I think, like you said, it's been a solid start to the league for the Cork hurlers. I'm just looking at the table right now, and it's so tied up the top. You've Tip, Kilkenny, and Galway all on 4 points. You've Cork and Limerick on 3 points, and then Clare on 0 points. But the top 3 teams have all played a game more than Cork, Limerick, and Clare. So there's a lot of hurling to be played over the next couple of weeks. But like you say, Cork are going to wait an informed Tip this weekend, and it's just like Cork had a break the last weekend. It's just a chance to get back into the groove, and I think for the league, it's important for Cork just to, and we talked about it before, try and win a competition. Kind of win some silverware. I think that'll be kind of it is the next step for this this Cork team to get their hands on silverware and just build a bit of momentum off the back of that. So it's a challenge for Cork going up to Tipperary. Like you've said, they're kind of a mini revival so far this year, and they endured a tough season last season. So Tip are like 2 wins out of 3 so far. They're top of the table in Aliens Division 1. So it's going to be another chance to see where Cork are right now.
Definitely so, and it should be an entertaining game on Saturday evening, and it is also live on RT2 if anybody can't go to the game as well. Onto the Ladies Football League, and the Cork Ladies Footballers are going to Castleblayney to play Monaghan this Sunday at 2 p.m. Both sides go into this game on 6 points, Galway are 9 points, and Donegal on 5 points in 4th place. So, in a way, Kieran, I suppose you could call this a 6-pointer because obviously it's 3 points for a win in ladies football. It's a big game for the Cork ladies footballers here, and maybe a win here will kickstart a genuine promotion charge from Division 2.
Yeah, it's going to be quite tight. Galway are 100% record up the top of the table, and you've Cork and Monaghan on 6 points together. So if a team wins this Sunday, and hopefully it is Cork, it puts that team in the driving seat for that second promotion spot. Just judging that off the basis that if Galway keep doing what they're doing, that they'll get promoted, and it's 2 teams to go up. So Joe Carroll, I know you were talking to Joe Carroll for this week's Southern Star, and he makes the point if Cork win all their remaining league games, they'll get to the league final. So in one sense, Cork are kind of masters of their own destiny. But this will be a tough game on the road. Like it's a long trip, so they're gone for the weekend, head up on Saturday, stay overnight, play the game on Sunday, and head back down. So it's a long trip, so you want to make it worthwhile. So hopefully the Cork ladies can get it done. It's just interesting that this is the 3rd game of 3 away games in a row, which is quite a tough schedule. So like the Cork ladies, they've been away to Galway, away to Tipperary, now away to Monaghan. There's an away game to Donegal coming as well. So it's like they've had a couple of long trips here. But if Cork can get the win on Sunday and move on to 9 points, it'll put them in the driving seat for that second promotion spot. Even looking further down the road, like Donegal are starting to kind of get it together small bit as well, and they could be in the reckoning. So might all come down to that. I think it's a final round game, that trip to Donegal. But for Cork to be in that conversation, I think they need to pick up the 3 points this weekend.
Hopefully they do that this weekend. In between the Monaghan and Donegal games away from home, obviously there's 2 home games against Roscommon and then Clare. So hopefully Cork can get a win this weekend, and there'll be good momentum going into those 2 home games back to back. The Germanly's Cork Camogie team are starting their league campaign as well this weekend. They're starting on Saturday at 2 p.m. in Super Valley Park, Keeve, at home to Waterford. So, like Cork, as we mentioned with the interview with Maeve Callan on last week's podcast, Cork haven't won a league title since 2013. So it's kind of a weird enough statistic considering Cork's All-Ireland success. Obviously 2 in a row All-Ireland champions. They're going for 3 in a row this year. But is it important for Germanly's team, do you feel, Kieran, that they win the league this year and just break that duck of not winning a league title in 12 years?
Yeah, it'd be a nice one to kind of, I suppose, add to the trophy hall. The Cork team is obviously the pace setters at the moment, kind of winning the last 2 All-Irelands and be favourites to make it 3 in a row. So I think it's kind of a quirk that the Rebels are missing a league title, but I just suppose it shows the emphasis too that they put on the All-Ireland. So I just think the All-Ireland will be the big one this year. So I think for the Camogie team, it's almost, but it is different to the Cork footballers and the Cork hurlers in terms of they've won the biggest prize, so they know how to win it. So I think it's about almost tuning up and giving players a run out ahead of the championship, trying to unearth a couple of more players, trying to make the squad as competitive as possible. And it's an incredibly competitive squad as it is, but I presume for Germanly, he'll be trying out a few players and just fine-tuning and making sure that the team is ready to go for the All-Ireland Championship. And we saw the draw for that during the week. Cork are kicking off in May, a home game against Limerick. So seeing how fast the weeks are going by, that'll be here before we know it. But I'm sure Manly and the Cork Camogie team would love to win the league. It would be ideal preparation for the Munster and All-Ireland Championships. But for this Cork team, it's probably not to be all and end all, kind of considering that they have won the big prizes. So I think if they can just get minutes into the legs and get ready for the All-Ireland, that'll serve as a good campaign for Cork.
Definitely would, and we'll see if they can beat Waterford this weekend. It should be an interesting game this weekend in Super Valley Park, Keeve. And just before we cut to the Cork Monaghan discussion, the Alliance Football League. We'll switch to rugby just briefly because there was news on a West Cork front this week. Ireland are facing Wales in the Six Nations this weekend, and John Hotnett from Roscommon and Gavin Coombs from Skibbereen have been called into Simon Easterby's Ireland squad. And as well as that, Caelan Doris has been ruled out with an injury as well. So maybe there's an opportunity for one of these guys to maybe get a panel place on or match day squad place for the Ireland team. Genuinely, Kieran, like it's maybe come later than you would expect, considering how both players have performed for Munster over the past few seasons. But better late than never, really.
Yeah, it's great to see the two lads, Gavin and John, get their call up. For Gavin has obviously been in there before. He won 2 caps at Ireland back in the summer of 2021. And he was in and around the panel, and he was involved with the Ireland squad as well in the training panel ahead of the World Cup in 2023. But this is the first time that Gavin is back in the Ireland training setup since then. So I think it's kind of he's been in good form. You know, he really has. He got 2 tries against the Scarlets last weekend. He's now got 49 tries, I think, for Munster, 4th in the all-time try list. So he's been doing it season in, season out for Munster, and it's just interesting to see that Ian Costello was talking after the Munster game against Scarlets, and he thinks we're seeing Gavin Coombs play his best rugby right now. So hopefully that he was able to show that up at the Irish training camp this week. And then for John Hodnett, the Rock from Roscommon, I think it's just a reward for what he's done over the last couple of years. You know, he's been so consistent with Munster, and it's great to see him in there. So we do know that, like you said, Caelan Doris is out. Ireland team is being named on Thursday morning. I think the best we could hope for is for Gavin to try and get a place on the bench. Whether he can or not, we just have to wait and see. If himself and John Hodnett aren't involved in let's say the match day panel for Ireland against Wales on Saturday, you'd expect him hopefully then to be involved with the Ireland A's of playing England on Sunday. So that could be a game that they could be involved in. I suppose depending how this week is panned out. But it's just good to see the Gavin and John in there, and obviously Jack Crowley is there anyway, so that's 3 West Cork fellas up there, and then keeping for a good few days for West Cork fellas. And Josh Wycherley signed a new contract with Munster last week as well, so it just shows that it's been a good 7 days for the West Cork Mafia, and hopefully, touch wood, we could have 2 West Cork fellas featuring against Wales on Saturday. We'd expect Jack Crowley to be involved, whether it's off the bench or starting. But hopefully we might see Gavin on the bench, and he might even get a few minutes. So we just have to wait and see on Thursday when the team is named.
And hopefully Gavin does get on the match day squad to face Wales this weekend. But we have to wait and see. Obviously, we'll take a quick break now, and after the break, we will be talking all things Cork versus Monaghan in the Alliance Football League.
The Star Sport podcast is brought to you by Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, funding dreams for over 50 years.
So welcome back to the podcast, and in a while we'll be talking to former Monaghan footballer Stephen Gollogly about the game between Monaghan and Cork this weekend in the Alliance Football League. Worth noting that Stephen has won 2 Ulster titles in 2013 and 2015 with the Farney County. He also owns, in his inter-county retirement, he owns a company called Gaelic Tactics Board, so check them out if you haven't already as well. So he talked about the game in depth, and we'll discuss that in just a while. But firstly, Kieran, we'll discuss Cork's recent game in the Alliance Football League. They toppled Westmeath, obviously, 3-18 to 3-17 in Super Valley Park Keefe last Saturday evening. I suppose for John Cleary, the positive is they got a win on the board that game against Westmeath. Maybe not the greatest performance, and maybe not the greatest scoreline considering Westmeath are bottom of the table at the moment, but a win's a win.
Exactly, a win is a win. Unconvincing is a word I've heard to describe this Cork victory against Westmeath, and I think that's very apt. But we've spoken about it on this podcast, Matthew, where I've said I think for Cork to kind of push forward, they need to beat teams in and around them, and do that consistently. Wasn't able to do it in the previous round up and down, but got the win against Westmeath, however unconvincing that was. So what it does, it leaves Cork in that promotion picture after 3 rounds. Cork are on 4 points out of a possible 6, the same as Monaghan. That's why this weekend's game is such a big game, because if you look at Roscommon, who Cork face after Monaghan, they're setting the pace. So these next 2 games will define Cork's league campaign, and that push to get up to Division 1. Away to Monaghan, home to Roscommon. In an ideal world, if you get 4 points out of that, Cork are right smack bang in the middle of a promotion push. But you could just as easily be talking in a few weeks' time, where Cork have lost both games. And all of a sudden, again, you're kind of looking nervously behind you. Okay, kind of loud to come. I think it's Kevin as well, isn't it? In the towards the end there. So just a huge game. This is going to be a big game for Cork coming up this weekend. But you were up in Páirc Uí Chaoimh to watch Cork against Westmeath. Is it right to say it just wasn't overly convincing?
Wasn't really convincing. I suppose the attack performed well. Obviously, Chris Oak scored 3-4, was probably the story of the weekend. Defensively, and I think Cleary mentioned that in his post-match interview afterwards. He said sometimes Cork's 1-on-1 defending has to be improved on. And it did show throughout the game, like the way Westmeath were scoring their goals. Matthew Whittaker in the first half. The goal at the end through Ronan Wallace, maybe Cork kind of switched off at the end. They were 4 points up at that point. Maybe they lost a bit of concentration, but then again, you can't do that against teams like Monaghan and Roscommon, with the greatest of respect, obviously, to Westmeath. And Cork were, I think they were 4 points down at some stage in the second half, or they were 2 points down after a couple of 2-pointers from Danny McCartan, and it looked pretty grim, to be honest with you. And then Chris O gets the goals, and things start looking rosy in the garden again. I suppose the positive is Rory Dean coming back, Brian Hurley back, Ian Maguire back. They all came off the bench to provide a bit of a role coming on and seeing out the game against Westmeath. It was probably unconvincing, but at the same time, I think Cleary and his boys would just be happy in getting over the line with this game nonetheless. And with the two games coming up against Monaghan, and as you mentioned, Roscommon after this in Super Valley Páirc Uí Chaoimh, it was even more vital that they just got the 2 points on the board. Now they go into the Monaghan Roscommon game under, I would say, probably no pressure as such, considering, like, if they lost to Westmeath, they would have been looking over their shoulder in terms of relegation. But now going into the Monaghan Roscommon game, like, promotion is a realistic opportunity after this.
I think so, yeah. I think that's why this weekend's game in Castleblayney, in Inniskeen, is such a big game, because it's almost one of those sliding door moments for these Cork footballers. Get a win away to Monaghan, and all of a sudden you're looking at Cork are in a good position to drive on to get promotion. Like I said, I know Louth would have been a bogey team over the last couple of years. You'd have Louth and Kevin in after the Roscommon game, so it will give Cork a good chance. If you're looking at the league, it's 7 games. You could possibly lose 2 and still win promotion. Like, you're looking at possibly getting 9 or 10 points otherwise, and that could be enough. Like, Roscommon are just kind of setting the pace at the moment. They have that 100% record, so that's why I think this is going to be a big game for the Cork footballers. And like you said, the squad is starting to kind of strengthen again now. Like getting Ian Maguire and getting Brian Hurley back and Rory Dean. It's all positives, and Cork need that strength and depth, because just didn't have that in the first few rounds of the league, considering the players that Cork have been without. So I think it's kind of there's definitely more to come. But it's you'd be optimistic, I think, kind of with Cork heading up to Monaghan, but definitely needs a better performance, and definitely tighter at the back. Definitely needs to be tighter at the back. Like, I know Westmeath were scoring heavy. They've won actually one of they pick up big scores in the games before too. But to concede what Cork did, like, it is a concern, isn't it, to be coughing up chances like that?
Yeah, I suppose it is. At the same time, though, I think Monaghan conceded themselves to Westmeath at home in Clonus. I think they conceded something like 121 or 221 in the second game as well. So Monaghan's defence doesn't seem to be up to the best either. It's coincidental, actually, because, like, Cork and Monaghan are the 2 highest goal scorers in Division 2 at the moment. So you would probably expect goals this weekend. And Monaghan have obviously lost Conor McManus, one of the stalwarts, and I'll be talking to Stephen about that and the loss that he is to Monaghan. But they have unearthed a few gems in the team, which is a positive from their point of view. So yeah, it should be a very, very good game this weekend. I suppose, as many people have been saying over the past few days, Cork need to just tighten up at the back and stop conceding maybe soft goals, soft scores. And let's see where it gets them against Monaghan this weekend. And it should be a very interesting game. And we'll discuss it with Stephen Gollogly in just a while. But just before we do that, Kieran, we discussed the ladies' footballers that are in action against Monaghan and Castleblayney on the same day earlier in the podcast. They're playing at 2 p.m. in Castleblayney, while the men's footballers are playing at 1:30 in Inniskeen. In your opinion, could there have been a possibility of a double header there? in terms of just promoting more so the ladies footballers, more so just getting them more traction, or do you think like it was not feasible having a double header? What do you think?
I'm looking here just even on Google Maps, Matthew. It's Inniskeen to Castleblayney is 18 kilometers. It's 20 minutes in the car, so it's literally up the road. Kind of like it would have been great to see a situation where you would have had, let's say, the ladies footballers are staying overnight if they were playing at 12 o'clock, and the men's footballers at 2 o'clock, and you've greater support for both the Cork and Monaghan teams. In an ideal world. I don't know the kind of the state of the pitches and so on at this time of the year, but I know coming up in Park in a couple of weeks' time, there's going to be I think it's even a triple header of Cork teams are going to be playing from hurling, camogie, and ladies football. I think so. I think in an ideal world, it would be great. And kind of it'll make sense too for, I suppose, Cork fans. You get 2 games in, you get to see the ladies footballers and the men's footballers as well, and even more so for the ladies footballers, just to get more support there. I think that would have been great to see as well. I'm not entirely sure why it didn't happen. I presume the powers that be have a good reason for this, but you do make a good point. Like, it's only 20 minutes in a car is the difference. So it's not like they're on opposite ends of the county. Far from it. So it's something going forward. I think, especially when we were talking about the amalgamation in kind of years to, well, it's meant to be in process, the LGFA and Camogie and GA all come under the umbrella, that we'll see a lot more double headers, and that definitely has improved in the last couple of years, but this looked like it was an opportunity. You've 2 Cork teams heading up to Monaghan to play on the same day against the home team, yet they're on in different venues. So it does look like an opportunity missed, but again, maybe there was a reason why.
Maybe so, but we'll have to see how it all plays out with the GA, the Camogie Association, and the LGFA going under the one umbrella in the next few years or so. And Stephen did talk about the possibility of a double header in the chat that we're just going to show you now as well. So it is worth looking at. So here's Stephen Gollogly now. So delighted to be joined on the Star Sport podcast today by former Monaghan footballer Stephen Gollogly, a 2-time Ulster Senior Football Championship winner, 3-time National League winner as well, to discuss this weekend's crunch clash between Cork and Monaghan in the Alliance Football League in Grattan Park and Inniskeen this Sunday. I suppose, first of all, Stephen, how are things with yourself? Like, a big game coming up this weekend between Monaghan and Cork.
Yeah, all's good. Thanks, Matty. Yeah, just went through the different results there. Monaghan's on a win-win-loss streak. We beat Cavan, we beat Westmeath, and we lost to Roscommon last weekend. And similar enough to Cork, they've had a win-lost-win. Okay, so yeah, 2 wins, 1 loss each. So both teams are shaping up rightly, and it should be a good contest in Inniskeen now this Sunday at 2 o'clock. And I'd say it'll be a close match. There'll be very little between the teams.
Do you feel at this early stage of the league, though, that this is kind of a promotion 4-pointer? Like, whoever wins this game is really setting a promotion after this?
Possibly, but from my experience, I've seen it all over the years. Even when I was playing, you can have a good start to the league, win 2-3 games in a row. There's a lot of talk about promotion, and then you can fade off at the very end in game 6 or game 7, and you can lose out narrowly. So it is a big, big game indeed. But in most cases, it'll go to the last round of the league, game 7, where a lot of the major decisions, promotions, relegations are decided. So, but it is a big game. Yeah, 2 points for stake, up for stakes, and yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing Cork now this weekend. I think it's 2019 since the last one, or last All Ireland under 21. So them lads now, they're so 6 on to 21, 27 years of age. Them lads should be coming into their prime now. And I expect Cork to improve over the next year or two. They seem they've got their house in order. They seem fit, strong. Their strength and conditioning, all that seems to be in place now. I know it wasn't for previous years there in Cork. I've been led to believe stuff in the background wasn't in place. Gyms, none of that was right. It's right now. And I'll be expecting Cork to improve over the next few years.
Definitely so. It should be a very interesting game, without a doubt. Just switching over to the Monaghan point of view for a bit now. Like, it's as you mentioned at the start of the chat there, 2 wins, 1 loss. The loss coming off last weekend against Roscommon after 2 wins against Westmeath, and and Westmeath in the second game, and the first game against Cavan, obviously. But like, new season for Monaghan, obviously coming down for Division 1, new manager Gabriel Bannigan. How do you think the team has performed so far in the league?
We'd be happy with how the team is going. We've a lot of new players in. There could be 6, 7 new faces on the panel and getting game time also. So Monaghan people are happy. We've won our first 2 games. We've settled well, but we haven't really been tested either. Roscommon was a step up last weekend, and we weren't fit for them really. So, but it's good. We're blooding new players, and it's exciting. In the county, we've new players. We've a crop of new players coming. A lot of the older lads have retired now. Our main man is Conor McManus. He hung them up as well. So it gives other new young players a chance as well, and it's exciting for them as well.
And just on Conor McManus' retirement, that was the kind of big story in the off season, not just in Monaghan circles, but across the whole country in GA circles. So, like, how's the county reacted in general to Conor's retirement?
Well, I think people were hoping he might play another year, but when you're done, you're done. He does have hip trouble, and I think he might need a bit of hip surgery or hip replacement, something like that. Did he give 18 years to the county or 90? I think it was 18 years, which is massive service. And he was a great teammate to play alongside. A great guy, number one before his football. Great fun, great crack. Very solid, very humbled. Never was big-headed, never got ahead of himself. It was always the team before himself. And he's a massive loss. Like, players like that, with that mentality, don't come around too often, and we were grateful to have him, and it was grateful to play alongside him as well.
And you mentioned that new players may have the opportunity of stepping up. One player in particular who's your top scorer so far, in David Garland. Like, he's done well at Sigerson down through the years, but he's really excelled in this league campaign. How dangerous will he be in particular on Sunday?
Davey's playing well. I think he has 2 Sigerson Cups with DCU in Dublin. He was maybe player of the year up there for 2 years as well in the third level colleges, player of the year awards as well. With Dunamine, that's his club in South Monaghan. He could be scoring 110 every game, 2 massive score, kicks the frees as well. But he didn't really get going with Monaghan. He's on the panel maybe 2-3 years now. Didn't really click, but he seems to have got a great start this year in the league. He's a real marksman. He's small in stature, but he's a sweet left foot. Very, very accurate. Great man for a goal. And he seems to be in confidence. He's a confidence player like most forwards, and he's in form at the moment, and long may that continue as well. And he'll know Dunamine is just next door to Inniskeen. He would have played in Inniskeen field numerous times, so he'll be looking forward for the game this weekend on Sunday, I'm sure.
And you look at the other players that are really stepping up as well. Obviously, Rory Began had the NFL exploits, came back for the championship last year. He's back full time for the league now this year. Conor McCarthy has done excellent for his wing back role, as he usually does as well for Monaghan. Is there more of an onus on those sorts of players, the likes of McCarthy's, the likes of Begans, to take up the mantle now that Conor McManus has gone?
100%. Yeah, you need players in a team and a squad who are going to step up and count when the game's on. Like, there's no point having boys that'll talk about it and we'll do this in team meetings and at training. You need players that will stand up in the heat of a tight game, whether it's National League or up the scale again come championship stuff. And Rory and Conor are doing that at the minute. And they've done that for the last few years as well. But especially the Westmeath game, Rory, to me, I was down at the game. He just seems to be in the confidence-wise, he's in his prime. He was unbelievable, playing outfield, catching kickouts, batting them down left and right, in control. No man could get near him. He's that big and strong. And then his kickouts sublime, and his in-game kicking as well, to me, is really, really good. Just gets the right weight on the ball, always accurate, and he rarely makes mistakes. Rory, big game player, doesn't get nervous. Lots of experience from playing football this year as well. Conor's doing well. So there is still leadership there in the team, but a lot of youth also.
And I suppose that you mentioned Rory Began there, and he's playing a brilliant role, obviously, as you mentioned, in the Westmeath game in particular. And the new rules have got him to play this kind of a role as a brilliant goalkeeper that comes up and gets points. Like, do you like this sort of system? Obviously, it's suiting Monaghan so far because Began's getting a lot of scores off it. But how do you like the 12v11, for example, in the new rules?
Yeah, well, Rory was playing as an outfielder, not just since the new rules have come in. He's been doing that 6-8 years. So confidence-wise, he's used to it. So it's nothing new to him. But he's playing really, really well. I didn't know if they're going to work well for Monaghan or not, the new rules. But we have speed in our team, and it seems to be working well for us. If there's a turnover and you break at pace, it's very dangerous in game. We've got lots of scores from turnovers, breakdown up the field. Take your man on, get your score, whether it's a 1-pointer or 2-pointer. But no, the new rules seem to be suiting Monaghan at the moment. We haven't really been tested yet either. It's still early on in the league. Are we going to be able to compete with Donegal, Armagh, come championship time? We have a lot of work to do. We know that. But it's exciting. A lot of new faces. It's great, yeah.
And is there sort of a pressure for Monaghan to come back up after getting relegated for Division 1? Or do you think Monaghan need to spend a few more years in Division 2 just to gain a bit of confidence? Or what's your beliefs on that?
Yeah, good call, Matt. Yeah, no, there's no pressure. I wouldn't think there's pressure for Monaghan to come back up. Probably no harm to sit down there. Like if you're in Division 1, every game is high-end. Even media attention, you're on the Sunday game or the League Sunday, every Sunday night. There's national media, you're exposed. Division 2, not half as much coverage, not half as much pressure. You've more of a chance to try out fringe players, squad players. You can rotate your squad a wee bit also. There's not as much pressure as Division 1, no way. So, no, I don't think it'll do Monaghan any harm. We've seen in other years, Donegal won Sam Maguire from Division 2, Dublin as well. So, it's not a necessity really for Monaghan to be Division 1, I don't think.
And another kind of element to all this as well is the Cork and Monaghan ladies that are playing in the same county on the same day as well. The Cork and Monaghan ladies are playing in Castleblayney at 2 p.m. while the men's footballers are playing at 1:30. Just wanted to get your opinions on that, Stephen. What's your thoughts on all this? Should the two games be a double header, or what do you think?
Yeah, first off, I think it probably should. Like, it won't be a sellout. Inniskeen is a lovely venue, as good a venue anywhere in Ireland. It's small, it's compact. There's a great sand-based pitch, lovely stand also. I would say, yeah, crowd-wise, it would hold them. Cork football fans, they don't tend to travel as much as the hurlers, for sure. So there won't be a massive Cork travelling, I wouldn't think. Monaghan, they'll have big numbers there, but it won't be sold out or anything. And I would say definitely they could well have played both games. Unless there's a bit of pressure on the field, would it hold up to the two matches? I'm not so sure. But definitely there's other fields, 2 training fields out the back in Inniskeen, full sand-based. I'm sure they would have been well fit for to hold both matches in the same venue, yeah.
And just before we get on to prediction and all that, could Clonus have been an option to play a doubleheader for this game, or is that not available at the moment?
I'd say it would be an option, but field-wise, I'd say Inniskeen is in better nick, sand-wise and turf-wise grass, to hold up to 2 games. But over this last few years, Monaghan have done that to share their games around the county. Inniskeen will get a game or 2. Blaney could get a game or 2. Scots. In my time playing with the county, we played Cork National League games at Castleblayney. We had one in Scottstown as well. We played Cork. Our team just clashed with Cork a lot. The Cork team that won the All Ireland in 2010. We played them in Parky Ring twice. We played them in the league final in Croke Park. Once also, I think that was 2009. We played them numerous challenges pre-championship, so we were well acquainted with the Cork lads, but it was spread out throughout our county, yeah.
And just for this game in particular, with the game being on 1:30 on Sunday, Monaghan against Cork in Grattan Park and Inniskeen, what are you predicting for this game, Stephen? I think you probably go for a Monaghan win, but do you think this will be a tight game throughout?
Yeah, I think it will be tight. But Monaghan's the first game in Inniskeen this year. There's a good lot of lads playing on the team now from the south of the county. And in Inniskeen is in South Monaghan. So a lot of lads will be really familiar with the pitch. They'll be hungry for it. Not a big travel down to Clonus. Clonus could be 45 minutes from some of the South Monaghan based lads, Marrowcloone or Inniskeen lads. So they'll be hungry for it. I think Monaghan will edge it. We bet Westmeath there 2 weeks ago. Convincingly enough, we had a couple of points to spare. Cork narrowly won against Westmeath on their home patch in Páirc Uí Chaoimh last weekend. So if you're judging on that, if you're a betting man, you probably would go with Monaghan, and I'll go with Monaghan for this weekend.
Should be a very interesting game, and definitely one to watch this weekend if anybody can get to the game, of course. Just before we leave the chat, Stephen, you have your own company, obviously, as well as being a former intercounty footballer with Monaghan Gaelic Tactics Board. Do you want to tell us more about that?
Yeah, we're just on sale online retailer of tactics boards. We have our new field lines now back in stock. That's A1 size. We have 3 foot by 2 foot. And we're unique in the market here now. We do personalized team colours. So a lot of other companies that do tactics boards, for example, if you're coaching Cork, you'd only get a blue and a black magnet to represent your players. Whereas we personally, if you're coaching a Cork team, we do red and white. If you're over Wexford, you get your purple and yellow. Tipperary, blue and gold, whatever. So that's our niche, personalised magnets. We do digipads, coaches folders, A4 size, and different bits and pieces, cones, ladders, and we have a few new products coming out in the next few weeks. So we'll be getting ready to launch them soon. So yeah, you can check us out. Anyone listening in, GaelicTacticsBoard.com. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks very much, Stephen, for joining on the Star Sport podcast today, and enjoy watching the game on Sunday between Monaghan and Cork.
100%. Thank you, Matt.
The Star Sport podcast is brought to you by Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, funding dreams for over 50 years.
So it is that time of the week again where we look at what's in this Thursday's Southern Star. So what should our readers expect this Thursday, Kieran?
Yeah, it's a really good, I know I'm kind of a broken record, but a really good sports section on the way on Thursday. There really is something for everyone. So Island Rovers LGFA are celebrating 40 years this weekend. So I chatted to Megs Coombs, who was involved in Island Rovers in their early years back in the 1980s, about those early years and how enjoyable they were. And actually the success that Island Rovers ladies had back then. They won a county senior title back in 86, and in their first year in 84 they won a county junior A title as well. So that was a lovely chat with Megs Coombs. Also chat to Barbara Nugent from Skibbereen Rowing Club, who's an interesting story. She was recently crowned Rowing Ireland's Master Female Rower of the Year. So she's a Dublin woman living in Clon who rows with Skib. And it's just a lovely story about how she got into rowing. So that's worth checking out. Also, Beamish Cup quarterfinals are on this weekend. And I gave you the onerous task, Matthew, of ranking the 8 teams left in the competition from 1 to 8. So that's well worth checking out. So that's the 4 Beamish Cup quarterfinals are on this Sunday. And also a hat tip here to Martin Walsh, motorsport correspondent. It's now 40 years of Martin writing the motorsport column for the Southern Star. So he's doing a reflective piece on that. It started off in February 1985, and Martin is still going strong, and it's just a testament to, I suppose, to Martin and his knowledge of motorsport, but also to how strong motorsport is in West Cork, that we are the only newspaper, as far as I know, regional newspaper, who have a dedicated weekly motorsport column. So that's well worth checking out. Also, I've chatted to the new Carbery chairman, David White, just about his new role, how he's excited about it, and also about the Carbery 4G or send-based pitch project, to see where that is at. And that's probably more kind of timely now, given the postponement suspension of the under-21 competition. But there's loads more beside that, Matthew. There's Tom Lyons is an interesting piece on the DC Cup, which was put back in the Clonakilty footballs for safekeeping recently. Also Clonakilty rugby's in the cusp of wave right now, when we've a preview of Sacred Hearts Munster Schools Girls Senior Cup semi-final next week, and also the Clonakilty under-18 under-14 girls won a League Cup double last week. Didn't turn into athletics. Phil Healy's in action at the National Indoors this weekend, and also Laura Nicholson and Maeve O'Neill are still in fine form across America. So that's just a taster. It's absolutely packed this week, so well worth checking out.
Definitely so. And another thing worth checking out as well is the free wedding supplement inside this week's Southern Star. Local brides tell the stories of their big day. There's tips on how to be a great bridesmaid. There is also West Cork wedding photos, expert hair and makeup advice, and lots more included. So check that out if you haven't. If you are going to the shops this week and you are picking up the Southern Star free wedding supplement inside this week's edition. And as usual, if you are further afield or can't make it to the shops, you could subscribe to the Southern Star e-paper and get the Southern Star on your laptop, tablet, or phone. Just go to www.southernstar.ie/subscribe, enter details, and you'll get an exact replica of the newspaper for less than €2 per week. As always, thanks for listening to the Star Sport podcast, and thanks again to our sponsors at Access Credit Union. If you've enjoyed this, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll be back again next week. Until then, take care.